Hello, and welcome to the Dana Show, where we BS about business and branding. What I'm really interested in talking about today is the dead internet. And I touched this a little bit in my last show. And I want to expand on that and kind of take a little bit of a look at how the dead internet theory affects our ability to grow a business in a world that requires an online presence. So, the dead internet is a theory that started in 2016, and it's a theory that largely started on Reddit that asserts that the internet has consisted mainly of bot activity and automatically generated content manipulated by algorithm curation. So what that means in, simple terms is the bots are talking to bots and the algorithm is encouraging it because the algorithm's encouraging the things the bots are doing. The bots are learning what the algorithm likes, and it just turns into this cycle of bots talking to bots, and it takes us as humans out of the equation. So we're just consuming information created by bots based on the algorithm. So there is a broader, and this is on Wikipedia, there is a broader idea and conspiracy theory that gets into it gets dark. It gets into politics and control and things like that. So I'm going to read a little bit more. Proponents of the theory believe these social bots were created intentionally to help control algorithms and boost search results in order to influence consumers. Some proponents of the theory accuse government agencies of using bots to manipulate public perception. The dead internet theory has gained traction because many of the observed phenomena are quantifiable, such as increased bot traffic, but the literature on the subject does not support the full theory. So it can get really dark, but what we're worried about is how do you create a real connection with your customers, with potential customers, when you're dealing with all of these bots, and then with the rise of AI in addition, and the algorithms, and everything becomes automated and really artificial like AI. How do you maintain your humanity in your content when you're just trying to survive and build a business and do what you want to do? So that's what we're going to talk about today. So one of the dangers of the bots is the idea that you're not people are no longer really in charge of what the content is, or one person can have this massive influence in an artificial way. And we really saw this recently with Twitter, or X, very briefly a week or so ago, decided to show the location of where an account was started. And I think it only stayed up for like an hour because people were like, wait a minute. So this one Twitter account, I think it was called American or something like that, or The American. And it was based out of India. And they were finding that a lot of these pro MAGA right wing bots, were bots. These accounts were either bots or false. They weren't real people living in America. They were someone else choosing to influence the politics of America, essentially. And were they bots? I don't know. But there's a good chance that they were bots. And a lot of them were bots. And we know that that is definitely something that is running rampant in social media. And it's hard to control. How do you control that? Anyone can create an account. All you need is a free Gmail account, or one of the many, many free web, email sites there are. And you can pretty much have as many as you want. And so you have one person that might be running 1,000 different accounts. and then they affect the algorithm, and then they use bots to help cut down that workload. So it becomes this very inauthentic place, and we don't want an inauthentic internet. So what that has done is the rise of the AI, using AI in a way that is creative and writes and creates all of someone's content potentially, has become boring. And we don't want boring. Our brains are literally wired to not like being bored because it's dangerous to be bored. So if your guard is down, you can be eaten by a tiger, or a bear or whatever. Your enemies, right? So our bodies still react that way. So while our society has evolved into social media, into the internet, our brains and our bodies and our nervous system hasn't reached that yet. So that's why we have anxiety over getting called in to see your boss, for example, or a bad test grade. That's not life-threatening, but our body thinks it is. So we lose that human connection that makes us who we are. And we're tired of it. We're tired of seeing copy and posts made by AI and perpetuated by bots. And what we want is to talk to other people. Because, right, we are people. And human connection is what separates us from every other animal on the planet. So when you introduce this literal artificial intelligence, it's artificial. It's not real. It's not real intelligence. It's artificial intelligence. You introduce that and you introduce the bots, and what do you get? And that's where it leads you towards the dead internet, which was what we don't even want, right? So how do we prevent that? I don't know how we prevent that. And I'm not in a place that's way above my intellect and capabilities. But how do we run a business in a world where we're dealing with this, right? So what we crave as humans is human connection. And so I have a little story for you. So this is story time. Just earlier today, I was out shopping. And I turned a corner and someone passed me, and out of the corner of the eye, my brain went, wait, I know that person. And I look closer and I'm like, oh my goodness. This woman was one of my children's taekwondo instructors back in the day. So my kids are now 18 and 22. But back when they were 4 to, oh my gosh, probably for 10 years, to like 14, maybe even 16. Yeah, I think my son was 16. So we were with this taekwondo school for 12 years. My daughter was crawling, learning to walk. She wasn't even walking yet when we started going there with her older brother, because they're 4 years apart. And so we got to know them well. At one point we were up there 4 days a week, because my son's class was Monday, Wednesday, and my daughter's class was Tuesday, Thursday. So, and they go year round with a short break in the summer and a short break over in the winter over the holidays. So when you're around someone that often, and we're just waiting for the kids, right? You get to know people. And the woman who ran it was a wife and her husband who ran it, and he did most of the instruction and she would run the front office. So I would sit around and we got to know each other fairly well. And I ran into her today, and I see her and I give her a big hug. Now, our relationship technically was transactional. It was a business. We paid her and her husband to teach my children taekwondo. That's a business relationship. But we formed a human connection. And you don't hug a bot when you buy from a bot. But if you get to know someone for over a decade and you see them on a regular basis and they watch your children grow and they're invested in your children, you develop a relationship that's separate from a business relationship. And while it was never unprofessional, there is a connection there. And I gave her the biggest hug. And the first thing she said is, "How are the kids?" And I told her, she's like, "Oh my gosh, I don't even want to know like how old they are," because she still remembers my kids as little. And I said, they're 22 and 18 and they're in college. And she's like, "I can't, that's crazy. I want to see pictures." And so of course I whip out my phone and I show her pictures and I'm telling her what they're doing and what they're studying. And she's so thrilled. And she said, "Please tell them to come and see me." Her and her husband love it when their former students come back. And now, from a business perspective, I will add, they don't only teach children, they do teach adults too. So on one hand, as a business owner, encouraging someone to come back is like, well, maybe we can get them to sign up again. But that's not why she was doing it. That's just maybe perhaps a byproduct that might happen. It probably won't, but you never know. But she genuinely cared about my kids, cares about them still, was interested in our lives, and I'm telling her, yeah, I got divorced from my now ex-husband. I'm remarried. I've got all these extra step kids and now I've got step grandkids and all these things. And she's telling me about her grandkids, that she's up to 5 now because she had 2 or 3 when we kind of left during the pandemic. We just kind of never went back into it after the pandemic. So it's been 5 years since I've seen her. It was just so nice to see her and catch up. That's a human connection, right? You cannot get that from a bot. You cannot get that from AI. If I wanted my kids to learn Taekwondo or go to Taekwondo, or someone recommended it, to say, "Hey, I'm looking for a Taekwondo school," I will, and I have always recommended them. And I continue to, if that ever comes up, which it does occasionally. And if my grandkids live nearby, I would definitely encourage my stepdaughter to take them to that Taekwondo school because they're amazing. And we loved it there. And we really only left, it wasn't me, it was, my kids. COVID slowed everything down, everything got canceled, and they just didn't want to really go back. COVID was they were teenagers at that point, and COVID was just, it's so funny how we talk about it because it's like this communal trauma we all went through. It's not a war, but it's kind of like something that we all went through together, but we all have our own unique take on it. And I think if you had kids in school, it was just rough. And so anyway, none of us came out of COVID the same way we went into COVID. And so we lost the Taekwondo in the process of them growing and wanting to do other things. There was a lot of different things going on. So so this woman has this great connection with me. 5 years, we give each other a big hug. Even though it's a business professional relationship. And so when we're doing online marketing and we're doing that kind of work, how do we recreate that? And the answer is you can't. You can't really. And what we also want to avoid is a parasocial relationship. So if you're not familiar, a parasocial relationship, and I went on Psychology Today to pull up this article. So a parasocial relationship is a one-sided relationship in which a person develops a strong sense of connection, intimacy, or familiarity with someone they don't know, most often celebrities or media personalities. These relationships exist only in the mind of the individual who experiences a bond despite the lack of reciprocity. The term was coined by psychologists Donald Horton and R. Richard Wohl in 1956 when televisions became widely available. They noted that TV viewers began to develop the illusion of intimacy with the characters on the screen. Although parasocial relationships are inherently imaginary, they can feel real for the person experiencing them. An individual may see in or project onto a celebrity a range of emotions that mirror their feelings and challenges. So, parasocial relationships happen because our brains, again, as I was talking about before, our brains are not wired for current technology. Our brains are living in basically, I want to say caveman, but like our brains have not evolved past our ancient civilization of humanity, or ancient civilization society is where our brains still exist and work. So we look at fear in different ways than we would if we weren't worried about being constantly pursued and basically hunted, because that's not likely to happen in most of our lives anymore. But our brains still interpret it that way. So when we see someone on TV, in the movies, but TV especially, our brains recognize them as friends. So, not the TV show Friends, even though that is one of my favorite TV shows, but literal. Our brains aren't able to differentiate between recognizing someone as, oh, I know that person, like that instant, right? It's like, I recognize that person, I know that person. Our brains think we know that person, not just we recognize their face. And before really television came into our lives, where we had that daily instant almost connection in our homes, that happened because previously you were only exposed to other people through either art or media, but media was limited to mostly newspapers. So you would see a picture in a newspaper, a 2D still photo in a newspaper, and that did not really affect you. You didn't look at that photo and think, oh, I know that person. You recognize that person, but you don't feel like you know that person. When you went to the movies, it was an experience. You left your home, you got dressed up, you went to the movie theater, you sat down in the theater, you had this experience, and then you left and resumed your normal life. It was an uninterrupted experience with the people on the screen, and you recognized them, but you didn't necessarily think you knew them. Now with television, since the 50s, so the 50s was 80 years ago? So since the 50s, for 80 years, we've had the experience where someone is physically, as far as our brains are concerned, in our home, on our television, which is in our living rooms, usually. So we have this person who we're seeing weekly, right? Back in the day when you could only watch something once a week. But even now, you can, of course, binge an entire show, and you're seeing this person for hours and hours and hours in your home, in the comfort of your living room, while sitting on your couch. And then you can, you're talking to someone and you're going back to it, and it's interrupted, and it becomes incorporated in your lives. And when that happens, you can develop a parasocial relationship where you really think these people are your friends. And even if we know, right, we know that that's not real, our brains don't, our subconscious doesn't, because it can't distinguish the instant in that split second. So we develop fondness for these people. We care about them. There are 3 celebrities for which I cried when they passed away. And the first one was Patrick Swayze, because he was amazing, and Dirty Dancing is one of my all-time favorite movies. The second one was Robin Williams, and the third one was Carrie Fisher. I cried. I mourned these people who I've never met, ever. Why? Why would that make me sad? That these people who they don't know I exist, would affect me. That's a parasocial relationship. Now, I do recognize that those people have never met me. They had never met me. They are not, those are not real relationships. Those are one-sided relationships, but our brains don't. So we want to avoid that because that can then become dangerous. That's when you get stalkers. That's when you get people who can't really handle the fact that when they see this person, they don't know this person. This person doesn't know them, and like they aren't who they might portray on screen. But that parasocial relationship can now extend from television and mainstream media to social media. So there was a few bloggers that I really enjoyed for a while, several years ago. And the one was a local Pittsburgh blogger, and you feel like you know her, right? I felt like I knew her because I read her blog regularly. And then I went to an event and I met her. And it was kind of a wake up call because it was like, oh, she don't know who I am. And I embarrassed myself. I was an idiot. And I was being very sarcastic, and she didn't know me well enough to recognize my sarcasm. And she thought I was being serious. And I just made an idiot. I was an idiot. I made a fool of myself. And she just sort of kind of walked away. And I was like, this woman thinks I'm crazy. Way to go. But that's because of a parasocial relationship whereby I had a relationship with her, but she didn't know who the heck I was. But because she was local, I felt more of that connection. And I don't know. I was younger then, right? But that's a parasocial relationship. That happens now on social media. I watch a YouTube channel, and you get to know the people. And especially when they're on, their video is up. Like it's not just their voice and a picture, and you see them and you see their mannerisms. Like I use my hands a lot, as you can tell when I'm talking. And you see that, and you might be like, oh my gosh, I do that too. And it's relatable. And that's how these things happen. So we don't want a parasocial relationship, but we do want is to create a connection with people who might want to work with us. And how I look at that is you're basically creating a preview. What would it be like to work with me? This is what you can expect. So the reason I do this show is because I want you as my viewer to think, oh, I might actually like working with this person. I like her style. I like what she says about branding and running a business and marketing. I think it has a value. I think she can help me. Right? That's the ultimate goal of this. This is why I come on here and I do this. So that's a preview of what it would be like to work with me. And one of the reasons I've chosen what this is long form video with short form video in the form of shorts and how I promote my episodes is so that you can get an idea of what I'm really like. This is who I am. And I've had clients tell me, even some clients I worked with first, and then they would see some of my videos and they're like, oh my gosh, that is exactly how you are. Like this is you. And that is my goal, because I want you to have a preview of what it's like to work with me. So that is your goal. When I create a website, so my website exists because I want you to get an idea of what it's like to work with me. I want you to understand what I look like, who I am, in the way I conduct my business. I want you to see what services I offer and why you might want to work with me. It's a preview. It's not going to convince you. My website does not exist to convince you of anything. My website exists to expand your knowledge and learn more about me if you choose to. Okay? So for a long time, I got really involved in the numbers on everything. We want to quantify everything. And in marketing, that is what we do. That is how we justify our existence. But I might own business, so I don't have to do that if I don't want to. Do I look at the numbers? Yeah, I want to have an idea of where things are, but I don't live and die by the numbers. Because if I have an audience of 100 people that have watched my video, that's 100 people who would not have viewed my content otherwise, right? It allows me to expand my reach beyond who I would see face to face. But the ultimate goal is to create that human connection so that they want to work with me and I want to work with them. I don't work with bots. I work with people. And I don't work with everyone. I work with people who I can actually help. And if I can't help you, I will tell you. If you want a social media manager, that is not me. I will help you develop a campaign that matches your branding, but I'm not going to manage your social media. But I know someone who will, and she'll do a great job. So, but I'm not afraid to say, no, we're not a good fit, but this is what I can help you with, but I can recommend this other person to do this work for you. So I want to develop that relationship. My website exists to give you more information. My social media exists to give you more information about what it's like to work with me, and to also just, I'd like to help people. So that is a part of it, but that is also still part of my branding and part of my business structure. So in order to stay away from that dead internet and stay out of the bot farm, the bot life, the bot cycle, right? We need to create that human connection. And we do that. Video is my favorite way to do that. I don't think you can do this in the same way, any other way than video. Video hits different because you're getting all of the senses. You can see me moving, right? So it's that kinetic energy too. It's not just the visual of seeing me. You get the kinetic of the action and the energy and the movement, as well as the audio. So you combine those three things together and you have a really good understanding of who I am and what it would be like to work with me. So how are you using that? How are you able to harness that to get other people to want to work with you? Because bots talking to bots is useless. And disregarding the whole control and political aspect of it, we're trying to build a business to support our families. And in order to do that, we need to find other people to work with. I'm business to business, right? So I'm looking for other business owners who want to grow and who want to do it in the way that I work best, which is figuring out who you are, what makes you unique and special. And I like to say, helping you find your special brand of magic. And then we take that information and then we expand on it and we use that everywhere. We build out your website, we build out your social media, we build out, whatever you need, your business cards, your logo, your everything, your voice. Like, who are you? Why should I work with you instead of these thousands of other options that I have? So I'm in the process of selling a house. It's my husband's house. He moved in with me when we got married. His house is too big for the two of us. So we're in the process of selling it and I'm getting some things fixed. And I had a contractor out and he was talking to me about, he's like, what do you do? We're chatting and he's like, oh, I'm trying to figure out social media. And these are the questions I get a lot. And people are just overwhelmed with social media. How do I get clients? How do I get clients? How do I build my business? And he was talking about TikTok and, he was saying, oh, I have a friend who who does something similar, and she's killing it on TikTok, and she's took this $100,000 course, which I don't know anyone who has a $100,000 course on TikTok, but I'm sure there's somebody. It's not me. And she's just killing it. And he's like, I need to figure that out. I need to figure it out. And I'm in my 50s and it's confusing. And this is so common. I hear this all of the time. But what he was missing is this 3 steps before. Who are you? What is your brand? And how are you presenting yourself to the world? That's what's most important. What are you saying and how are you saying it? What is your special brand of magic? And once you figure that out, everything else falls into place. But so many people skip that part and go right to just throwing things on TikTok, on Facebook, on X, on Instagram, YouTube, anywhere. And then they don't get results because it's not all connected. And I'm all for experimenting. I've done that. I've done a bunch of different video formats before I settled on this format. Experimenting is great, but you need to have that branding done first. You need to know who you are in your brand for your business. And then when you have that and your messaging down, it makes it so much easier to then go online, because you're not trying to emulate this person or be that person. You're you. And you're confident in being you because you know your stuff. You know your industry. And you're then confident in sharing what you do in the best way possible to be authentic and make those connections. So if that guy, he took my business card, if he goes to my website, he will learn more about me, learn more about what I do. And I have this entire podcast listed on my website in blog format. He'll go to that, he'll watch that, and then he's going to learn more about what it's like to work with me. That's the goal, right? It's all circular. And the goal is to get you to grow your business and get you clients and to help the people that you're best suited to help. It all connects, right? He could have started on my website and then gone to these other places. He could have started on YouTube and gone to these other places. In this case, he started face to face. I gave him my business card. It has my website on it. And then he might go to my website where you can get to my podcast, as well as seeing all of my services and how I work, because I don't work like a lot of other branding experts or marketing specialists. I work a little differently. I work exclusively in intensives. I start with a really in-depth interview with a new client, and I give them a document that maps out their branding. I call it the brand formula, because I call myself the brand alchemist. So I create this brand formula for you. And then from there, you can take that and run with it if you want to do it all on your own. It gives you the blueprint. It gives you the outline. It gives you the formula. It gives you the brand formula if you want to go and tackle these things on your own. But if you don't want to, you can then hire me, and I will spend a day or two with you, and we will finish your website, your business cards, do a new logo, have your social media all set up, have a marketing plan in place, figure out who you are and the best way to reach the people that you want to connect with in a way that is authentic to you. And that's how we operate in a world of bots, in a world where the dead internet is a threat upon us. And in a world where we don't want unhealthy parasocial relationships, we want healthy human connections. And that's what I wish for all of you, is healthy connections across the board in your business and in your personal life. And I want to see your business grow, and I want to see you succeed. If you'd like to support me, you can do it a few different ways, and they're all free. You can like this video. You can comment on this video. You can subscribe to this channel. I knew, and while I have been in this industry for decades, this is a new channel, and I'm growing it from scratch. And it takes time to do that because there's so much out there. So I would love your support in that way. It would mean so much to me. If you have an idea or a topic that you'd like to talk about, please let me know in the comments. And also, if you'd be interested in being a guest, I'm looking for business owners to interview on my podcast about what it's like running your business. And especially in this economy right now, where we're dealing with AI and the bots and all of the things and the bootstrapping that everyone's doing right now. How are you surviving? How are you staying afloat? I want to talk to you about that and learn from you as well. I don't just want this to be a one-sided conversation. So put those all in the comments for me. Let me know what you think. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.